couldn't tell me she wasn't happy that that poor kitty cat
I
had left.
mean, it's like the more he's down, the more she's up.
Ooh. Ooh,
It's like
oh, wait a minute, that's the title, man. Hey, my loves, welcome back to our channel. We are here with another one. We are speaking about all things Married at First Sight, and I'm super excited about this one. I am into Zar, if you didn't know, and you need to subscribe to this Mammy Tapping channel. So bust down, subscribe to this channel. This is my beautiful husband, Joseph. Joe, how are you today?
In Grand Rapids, Michigan, getting ready for a show tonight at the Van Andel Arena.
All right, Van Andel Arena. So that's super exciting. Okay, so Joe doesn't have much time, so we're going to jump right on into this and get into Married at First Sight. So this is episode 15. Now, let me say this. I have so many questions. I thought this was a really relatively good episode. I mean, did I think that?
I mean, I thought it was. You know,
do you feel like we got somewhere with the couples? Like you've seen any growth or anything like that?
I think I've seen growth with everybody across the board. For the most part. Yeah, like everybody, what length it goes to is different depending on the couple. But I think everybody is has grown in some area somewhat. You know what I mean? With the exception of like Jasmine and Michael, I just think her.
Well, Jasmine, you don't think she learned anything.
Yeah, so I think her finesse game. Yeah, her finesse hand is just strong and consistent.
I thought this was a good episode because we got to go back and talk childhood and talk about how people were raised, and I think that says a lot about how these people come to who they are today, right?
For sure, and I think it should be much more of that.
It needs to be much more. It just needs to be much more of a lot of things. Like, it's becoming more production than it is experiment.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Like, we want you guys to give them the best tools they could possibly have to move forward with one another.
Yeah, because it should be much. They don't know these people. Like, the hallmark of the show is marrying a complete stranger. So 99.9% of the activities that they do, the conversations that they have, the sessions that they have with the professionals, the counseling, all of it should be based on getting to know the stranger that they married. And I think that we just don't see enough of that.
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. I think this is getting to be, what do they say? The criminals are running the asylum or you know what I mean? Like, it's becoming that. And I'm feeling like, so let's start with Noy and Steve. And, I'm starting with Noy and Steve because I thought, first of all, Steve is the quintessential white man. Granted, he's mixed, but after watching this, I mean, his childhood was so carefree. Steve has no trauma.
Yeah. No, for real.
His mother was so loving. She was so loving. It was uncomfortable for me to watch. And all she was doing was loving her child. You know what I mean? But I thought it was like really cute. And I mean that in the sweetest way. I really, really do. Because she is in love with him. Like, it is so clear. And but did you feel like Noy was uncomfortable coming to his childhood home?
No, I didn't. Why you say that?
I just felt her energy gave scrutiny more than it gave like, I'm really excited about this moment.
I think it probably, what you could have been sensing was a sense of envy. Like Noy's upbringing was completely the opposite.
Right. Like, he felt like he could be heard. I wonder what his sister would say. because he's a young man, and I wonder what the difference is there. But
Mm.
she definitely didn't have the space to be free. Like, he was creating
Yeah,
music.
I mean, he was just doing whatever he wanted to do. His parents was good. He was good. So I think it could be part of that. Because again, you're dealing with strangers, right? So the way that you are happy for somebody who you know and love, and you know their struggles, and you know their low points, so their high points make you excited because you
Yeah,
and you could, most of the time you've been there with them, when you're married for some number of years, or even when you just know each other for, like, we haven't been married a long time at all, but your successes make me extremely happy because I know your journey. And
mhm,
even the journeys that you may have started long before me, because I know your person, that it makes, I know how bad you want X, Y, and Z if you achieve something or whatever like that. So when it's with a stranger, it's hard to express those same things or even have those same feelings, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Especially when you just getting to know this person, and you might be comparing and contrasting, like, compare. I always say comparison killed the cat. So that's really what it could have been.
And it's hard not to. And it's funny because I thought about this, even with even their dynamic. Not to say that you haven't. I don't know. I think that we have a similar dynamic in that. Like, I didn't have a terrible childhood. Like, I want to be clear, but I think that I was never raised to be a dreamer or to be. I was raised to be great at things and to make money. Does that make sense? And I
Yeah.
think that you were raised to be great at what you love.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I think that it is different in how we view a lot of things, and how, like, I don't want to say I'm more pragmatic, because I'm also like a shopper, and I do, you know what I mean? And I spend money like frivolously and all that
Uh-huh.
shit like that. But I do think it's also, I'm also a lot more, I don't scared. I'm afraid to do
I
things
always tell people
that would just.
but I always tell people, the way I put it, I always tell people that you are the if I'm the dreamer, you're the numbers guy. You know what I mean? Like, and you always need a check and balance in any type of relationship, team, or whatever, and that's just how we balance each other out. And like you said, our upbringings are, add to that.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm starting to understand why Noi feels the way about, why she needs him to work, and what kind of sense of calm that provides her and everything like that. Like, I get it. But did you get secondhand embarrassment when they played the song?
Zar,
Did you?
I like the way that I just wanted it to end. And typically I'm not the secondhand embarrassment person.
Oh,
It's
I get
her.
terrible secondhand
And I
embarrassment.
was getting it for her, and we didn't even watch it together. And I felt like
I wondered
crawling.
if you, like, did you feel like, oh my God, Zora's probably cringing at this point?
Yes, I did, because I was cringing and I just wanted it to stop. Like, but the Noi impressed me in that moment because the way she was gassing this terrible song up. Oh
Horrible.
my God, it's so good. I can't believe it. Oh my God. Like, it was terrible. And she was just gassing it up. Like, oh, you a
But
real wife, huh?
I think it's also like the excitement of seeing your person, like, I don't think she understands how multifaceted he can be. Not to say like he the next fucking Eminem or something like that, right? But for him to be able to be that person who's creative enough to put something like that together with whomever he put it together with, and be somebody who could work a corporate job, you know what I mean? You start to see people are layered, you know what I mean? And it's not just, what you kind of see. Like, he could be all those things. She's quirky in that way as well. Like, she
And
likes to dance and stuff.
But that's why I said I like this episode, because I think that what excited her was obviously not the song. It was the aspect of seeing another side of this man that she married that she never knew. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's exciting.
Yeah, it was exciting to see. Even though I'm not gonna pretend like knowing that still get on my fucking nerves. Like, if I'm being, and I'm trying to give grace. Like, I say that when I say that, I'm not saying that from a space of like rah rah. I'm saying that from a space of like, that's a good girlfriend. If she was my girlfriend, girl, you get on my fucking nerves right now. Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, I want to talk about Dr. Pepper, her Dr. Pepper and Steve in their conversation, and how they went through and talked about, living apart from your spouse. Now, Dr. Pepper made it very clear, and I like that Dr. Pepper did this, but she also did this because somebody would have outed her if she didn't.
They sure was. It felt very preemptive to me because she knows that the internet is undefeated.
She
So
knows. She
yeah.
knows. She knows. And she definitely did it, said, like, I live apart from my husband now, but I thought it does them a disservice. It does them a disservice to pretend like you have to be at a certain level of a relationship to make the decision. It just
Yeah.
does a disservice.
Yeah. And
You
I
can go to living alone and we just met each other. That shouldn't
yeah.
even be an option right now.
And I didn't even like the way that Dr. Pepper did it, because it felt like, to me, it was legitimizing Noi in this decision to not move in with her husband, because
1,000%.
we all know a bunch of old grannies and great grannies, that they was living in separate rooms, and some of them was living in separate houses.
Right. So
But the context there is very different, being that there has been a lifetime lived. Most of the time it's for health reasons or something like that, or negative reasons. You know what I'm saying? I found out about my grandpa was doing some stuff very later on in life, and it wasn't necessarily a great reason. You know what I mean? Like, happy couples, happy healthy couples do not typically just live in different households. Let's just throw that out there and be real about it, right? So I think, but the way that Dr. Pepper just threw her sauce on it was just like, no context, very just like, okay, I'm gonna throw this on there, and then it kind of legitimized it for Noi in that moment, and she kind of hit him with the C, and it's like, no, that's not it. That's not it. Like, y'all just got married. Like, that makes no sense.
And where is the real? But this is why, along with the experts, like, I don't consider, like, like, not that I consider us relationship experts, but I do think it's something in introducing couples or people who have successful relationships
and just real
and
life.
real talk these people. This does not make any sense. Why are we sitting up here giving this topic any real credence when we all know you're the same? She's so confused. The reason why Noi gets on my fucking nerves is because Noi says everything and nothing the fuck at all. So you don't know how to advocate for yourself, right? You don't even have emotional intelligence enough to advocate for yourself. Yet you think that you could be living in a home separate and apart from your husband. Do you know the amount of communication that requires? You don't even communicate now.
Y'all don't communicate now. And y'all, the one thing that y'all need is more communication and more time together, because you don't know him.
Because you don't know him. And it's all to keep your independence. And I mean this with all due motherfucking respect. Y'all would have had to tell me that Noi was living in the Taj Mahal motherfucking hall for her to act like she gonna leave her mansion. Bitch, you live in a motherfucking, you live in an actual closet. You probably got 200 square feet, period. And you gonna tell me y'all so fucking independent? Y'all so independent and prideful, you gonna hold on to your closet? That's the size of the bedroom I'm in right fucking now. Are you kidding?
But this is another failure of Dr. Pepper and the experts in certain cases, not holding certain people's feet to the fire. And I really don't like it. I don't like, we talk about pretty privilege with Jasmina, and we see some of it rearing its ugly head here, right? Because to me, that's where you should have died. That's where the door is open for you, Dr. Pepper, the professionals, to dive into the reasons why you are holding on to, quote unquote, your independence or whatever, right? There's a reason for that. There's a path, which Noi, brought up before. But if you're sitting at a table with a counselor or a therapist or a quote unquote expert, that's when they say, talk to us about that. Let's tell Steve about what happened, and go into detail and why you feel like this is the first thing you've done for yourself, because all of that makes sense. It's legitimate. Like, her feelings are legitimate. The things that she was saying make sense about why she feels like I need to hold on to this. This is the only thing that I've done for myself, and blah blah blah. We get all that, right? But this is your space, Dr. Pepper, to jump in and then pull back the layers on that, ask the probing questions, and she didn't do that. She just said, "Well, yeah, I live apart from my husband." Like that to me was a piss poor job as a professional.
I think what made it a piss poor job is that you didn't add the context. You kind of made it equal. Like, well, I did live it. You living on your second half of your life separately from a man makes sense to me. You raised kids in a house with a man for 23 years.
And that's what Steve said. Like, well, we don't have kids yet. And we
don't even have kids. But you know what also says? But this is why it's so important to consistently go to your therapist, because then they will be able to call out your bullshit as you're saying it, right? Because then you also
have what she should have did.
But if I don't consistently go to you, I can't do that, right? I can't call out the bullshit because I don't know when it's coming. Because the other part of this is, if you're so hell-bent in living your life independently, why you give a fuck so much that he got a job or not?
Right.
If that's how you want to live, because I'm just saying everything and I don't mean anything. And it's getting to be increasingly more fucking confusing for me. And it's like, that's kind of like where I'm going with the whole show. This like season, like these people who are in these relationships, and it's like, do y'all even see marriage on your day-to-day to even know that this is something you would want to embark on?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Especially to be holding on to so many of these old ideologies and from your single life to come into something like, man, and some of the stuff that they say, like, you know what I mean? It's like, what did you think? We don't expect you to nobody has the tools to walk into a marriage and be 1,000% ready to go. No one does, right?
You could be with your person for
1,000 years. Nobody does. No. But some of y'all seem like y'all was not even mentally prepared to be in a situation like this, and y'all signed up for it.
I am genuinely Nui has been really stressing me out because it's juvenile. That's why it's stressing me out. It's juvenile. You don't even want to resolve topics. First of all, y'all haven't even resolved the social media shit. Do you know how small and minuscule that is? But now you want to go live in a house by, like, it's like, that shit is so stupid to me. It's part of the reason why I'm not a therapist and I'm sitting up here talking shit about people on YouTube, because I would not be able to sit up in that young woman's face and let her say some dumb ass shit like that. Like, oh, we need to live apart. I would have been like, you could barely solve a social media problem. How do you think, like, be for real with yourself. Don't lie to me. How do you think you would be able to problem solve and resolve conflict and you're not in the same home? How?
Yeah, it's just, I think this is just the failure of, like I said, the experts and Dr. Pepper in this moment, because this is all something that should have been a deep dive for them in this single session right here, right now. The minute they started talking about that should have been, that Dr. Pepper should have jumped in there head first.
Self-accountable for making other decisions, for saying other things, for showing up in this, you know what I mean, this relationship in an emotional space. And granted, she may not have the tools. Like, I don't want to take that away from her. It's just more like, are we really going to just sit here and like y'all don't think, like, we have to stop? Yeah. Like, I was really thinking about that the other day, like watching, you know, the things back, what's the show, the after show back and everything, thinking, y'all can't possibly, like, the fact y'all don't push back on these people enough. No. Like, you know what I mean? Like, still sharp and still.
Y'all pick and choose y'all spots and people.
Still sharp and still. Y'all, this is some bullshit. And then I would be like, straight up, like, girl, you sound silly. And I mean that with respect. Like, you know what I mean? And you're entitled to your feelings and all of those things. I just think that you are entitled to your feelings and don't have the tools to express them. And that's what we need to work on before we even just decide making big decisions like that. You opening yourself up to a world of hurt.
Yeah.
Sorry, that really triggered me. It triggered me because I was annoyed by it. Like, are you kidding me? But let's move on. What do you think about writing a letter? What would you say to your younger self?
Oh, I don't. That's not a question you can just throw on somebody. Like, but but
Not
just
like a huge thing, but like one thing, like in life.
I mean, these were deep. I say that because these were very deep letters. I appreciate I
I
appreciate this segment in the show because you can. This is to my point. This is something that, in order to respond adequately to this, you have to put some thought into this. You have to sit down, and it seems like everybody, for the most part, did that. Even Jasmine, I'm gonna give her flowers. Even, but I had some other issues with that that scene. But it seems like everybody dug deep and actually took it seriously, because we've seen, they do this every season, and we've seen people like kind of just take it very lightly, not take it seriously at all. So I appreciate that everybody dug deep and actually like brought some serious, like, you know um content to the table, and some information about themselves and their past selves, because it's very telling about how you see yourself from years past and up to today.
I agree. I thought it was I enjoy that part of it. And it gives us a lot of context, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
about who these people are. And I love to see where everybody comes from and that they can share that with us. It's just really, really, really good to watch. I want to move on to we want to do Jasmina and
Yes.
Michael or oh, okay. Did you want to take the lead?
Well, since we were talking about them, sharing these letters to themselves and things like that. Like I said, I appreciated everybody deep diving and taking it seriously. It just really feels to me that it's pulling teeth to me to be vulnerable, to be transparent, to be real. And even in these moments where it's like they forced you to have an emotional connection with this man, he reaches out to hug you, and the look on her face, I wish I would have got a screenshot of it.
I know. It was like
That's exactly what it was.
it
It was so this is becoming so increasingly frustrating to watch, because I see him be vulnerable with her. I see him be committed to this process, these exercises that they do, the
admitted.
instructions that she gives him, the instruction that the experts give him. And then these moments happen, and it's like, okay, they forced you, you did it, but they forced you to do it, but you did it, so I'm gonna give you your flowers on that. And then he's trying to like have a moment with you, and it's just kind of just like, all right, let's just, and like, I
You
just don't like watching it no more. Like, free Michael. Hashtag free Michael.
hashtag free Michael. I feel like I think that you're spot on. I think that her not having feelings for Michael is her. I think that I do believe there's a population of people who want what they want, and I think that's okay. And I think, sometimes we meet people who we feel like we got a friend zone for whatever reason. You know what I mean? I've never experienced that. I'm gonna be honest, but I also am very good about choosing people who are just, if you're good to me, that's the standard. You know what I mean? Like, I just want you to be good to me. If you're good to me, you see me, you pour into me. That is my standard for dating somebody and being affectionate with somebody. And it's really fascinating to me because we have seen this man really take this seriously. Even though he hadn't even been back to his childhood home. He could have
Right.
took her any fucking where. Let's be for real. Like, he
Yeah,
didn't have.
like Lindsay took Mark to the woods.
Because her mother still live in that house, and she probably was like, "I ain't going to see that." You understand what I'm saying now?
Yeah.
But my thing is like, I just feel so conflicted with Jasmina because part of me is like, you do get to choose who you want to. Do you think you choose who you fall in love with?
Absolutely. Love is definitely love is part of love is making a choice, right? But at the same time, that choice is made during this part of that is making that choice during the process of courting and getting to know somebody. And you're not choosing to be a part of the process, which is my issue.
And that's That's it, babe. Because that's what I'm feeling. I'm feeling like she's not engaged.
Yes.
And she's actually disengaged.
Yes.
She's the exact opposite of being engaged. I
Yes.
don't know if y'all feel like she's checked out. It's giving Mirla during the reunion.
Oh, for
You remember
sure.
how disconnected she was? Like,
Yes.
I don't give a fuck that he's hurt. Like,
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
Even when she hugged, like, I,
The hug felt like to me two kids that was fighting and they upset and they crying and somebody said hug it out and then they like all right, like that's what it felt like to me.
I also want to know why are they gaslighting us by talking about kids and all this stuff like that when we know that shit y'all not gonna do.
Because this is a part of the finesse. This is a part of the finesse with this whole Jasmine and Michael situation where it's like, look, we did it. We had the conversations, we did the activities, you know, I mean, it's just like I think this is just a part of her walking it out. She just walking this process out. She just gonna slow walk us to the end.
And I'm trying to give her the benefit of the doubt because she's experienced quite a bit of trauma as a child. And, you know, not like, I mean, when your parents, you feel like your parents leave or whatever the case may be, when that happens to you as a child, that's a lot. You know what I mean? So I do wonder, you know, I'm certain it has something to do with how she shows up in this relationship. But I wonder, the question I have is, have you ever been an affectionate person? Like,
I
I
mean,
about that.
I would bet that she has not. And I think that what's disappointing about her in this process is being transparent about that, because now you have experts, you have, you know, you're talking to multiple therapists, you have all of these activities with your man where you have opportunities to dive into that, and she does not. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying, I get that everybody has a root to whatever person
Right.
they became. I'm not faulting her on any of that, and whatever happened to her childhood was not her fault. That's not an issue for me. My issue is that you're not participating in the manner that your husband is and being transparent and being open about that stuff.
1,000%. You are not participating. Like, you know what I mean? And I think,
Yeah.
so what do you think about what they said about, you know, having to unlearn? Like, what do you have to unlearn? Michael says, like, he feels like he has to unlearn, you know, like that he can experience feelings and not feel like he has to process them alone. He can
Mm-hmm.
share how he feels with other people. That's okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like, which I thought was like spot on. I think that that's how you know he's paying attention. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like, I'm in a relationship with somebody else. They recognize that I'm not as open. Now I need to do some introspective thinking. But he a Pisces, so when they
But
do,
that's called being part of the process.
that's
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 called being part of the process. And I think that's the frustrating part to me in watching them two together, because one is very involved in the process and then one is kind of dejected. And it's like what did the guy say? I think it was on the other show, Ready for Love, when he said,
she's
someone
unavailable.
she is not available. She
He,
is just
he said her name. He said, I don't know the girl name, but he said Jasmina. She's unavailable.
she's unavailable.
She's
Period.
unavailable.
And that's what I get.
It's giving asexual.
Yeah.
I don't even think you like men.
Yeah.
I don't think you like women either. I just think that you just are this being, and that's fine. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's fine. It's just like, I don't like when they try to sit up here and make it, because before, the problem is that when he was talking to her, however he was talking to her, she could make the case for like, oh, well, he being mean to me.
Oh yeah. She had an excuse.
You don't
She
hear none of that shit, Neil.
no.
Neil, we need a reason why you're not showing up.
Right. Right.
We need an actual reason, right? So it can't just be, well, I just don't have feelings. I mean this, you would be hard pressed to find, and I really do believe this, and I don't care what nobody say. You would be hard pressed to find somebody who is open, okay, open to love, being around somebody they, you know, all right, I'm not sure, but being around them and immersed in them, and that person showing up for them, and then they not leaning in. She is actively stopping herself from liking this man.
1,000%.
I don't give a fuck what nobody says.
1,000%. Like,
But
this
even
is
if you like him a little bit, you would be like, I touch people all the time, even if you're my girlfriend, and not like, sexually, more like my arm, my touch your shoulder. And everybody's not like that, don't get me wrong, but neither one of them is like that, which is odd to me. She's actively doing this.
Well, Michael is not, and Michael said this in a session, because I remember I didn't like Pastor Kyle's reaction to what he said, because what he said was very real, and the fact of like, I don't ever feel great reaching out, initiating anything, any type of physical touch or anything, especially as a man with a woman who constantly telling me that she's not into me, or that if she did anything with me, it would be out of obligation. Like, that's a real honest feeling, especially as a man, because you don't want to feel rapey. Let's just be honest. Like, you know what I mean? That's the first thing. You do not want to, even in a relationship, there's something that is like a switch in you as a man. Even being with, I get that same way. If sometimes I feel like Zar is a little standoffish or something like that because of whatever reason, I will pull back more than I should. Like, this is my wife. Like, you know what I mean? She's not gonna call the people on me, but it's something in me where it's, good men, where you don't, you never want to feel. I've never wanted to feel like that creepy guy. You know what I mean? And so when you are dealing with somebody as a man who constantly is giving you the Heisman, the only thing it's going to be an innate thing to pull back. And he said something that was even more revealing, which I'm glad. He needs to be more transparent in this, because I know he has feelings about this. But he gave, I think it was in the after party, and he said, I feel like I hold back, like I can't be my fullest self with her because she tells me we aren't there. Right? So this is happening on an emotional front, and this is happening on a physical front. Physically, I can't imagine myself initiating anything with her because she's constantly giving me the Heisman and telling me like no. And then even emotionally, I feel like I can't be fully present because she's constantly speaking this stagnant energy over our relationship.
And you got to give a little bit to him too. Like, he can't be the
Of
one
course
pouring all this in. Like, you do have to do positive reinforcement, right? You do something and I feel like, oh my God, we're going in the right direction. Let me lean in and give you a kiss or something like that. So, this is how I need you to show up. Do we not know, like, Pavlov's dog? Like, there's like studies like where you have to provide people with positive reinforcement in order for you to get the net benefit that you want. You know what I mean?
It's
like,
just this like it's the thing that the soapbox that I'm always on these shows, because again, I say it all the time, like we walk around as if men are just blocks of flesh and bones. Like, men want to be wanted too, y'all. Like, a man, they like, period. I mean, I think the idea that like women have all these feelings and emotions and thoughts and men don't.
So do men.
It's just asinine. Like, you know what I'm saying? A man wants to feel wanted by, even if he is the lead initiator physically, sexually in your relationship, he still has to and needs to feel like his woman wants him. Whether that's physical or emotional, you still want to feel like the door is open for me. Like, she into me a little bit, because that's the thing that allows me to springboard into initiating anything. If I feel like you're giving me dust, I'm not going to initiate a goddamn thing.
And I think, and I want to be clear, like, you know what I mean? Like, I am a firm believer that, the more you trust somebody, because I will tell anybody, I don't think that I'm innately an affectionate person. And I don't think when me and Joe first got back together, I was affectionate. I think the level of affection that I have for my husband now is like a 180 from where we were. And I don't know what you think, but I think I've seen the growth in it from,
sure.
You know what I mean? And that was a trust thing. Like, I had to get past some things in order for me to get to a space where I could fully show up, like Michael is saying, where I could fully show up affectionate. And I had to get some things, from the relationship to get there, And me and Joe had conversations about, like, you making me feel this way. I'm feeling like you don't like me. I'm feeling like that. We've had those conversations, you know what I mean? And I think they are important to have, because you do need to affirm, we not there yet. What the fuck
Yeah.
do that even mean? It's like so annoying because
It's building the wall. It's building the wall in your house right in the middle of the room.
and she does this cyclical talking thing that's saying nothing. She's doing annoyed. Like I'm saying something, but I'm saying absolutely the fuck nothing. And
Yeah,
I know
yeah. She
she's
does
smart.
that a lot.
And I know she's smarter than that. And that's the frustration I have because it's like, if y'all would just say what it is, we wouldn't feel like, what, like, why are you taking this man through the ringer like this?
But she's doing that. She's doing just enough, and some of it is working. She's doing just because I see y'all in the comments. I see y'all on Twitter. I see y'all in the comments on YouTube. Like she's finessing some of y'all. You know what I'm saying? Like because y'all see them being friends. And let me tell you, and Michael, this is another thing. I'm proud of Michael because he's opening up a little bit more where he addressed the friend thing. He said, I do want my wife to be my best friend, but not just my best friend. You're not gonna make it through life. I mean, and this is coming from a man whose wife is literally his best friend and who has been my best friend since high school, right? Like this is my dog, like in that part of life. Like that's my dog. I would say another word if we wasn't on air. Like that, y'all know what I'm talking about, right? But we wouldn't survive if she was just I got a lot of friends. I got enough friends. You know what I mean? We would not be together. We would not survive if she was just my best friend. You know what I'm saying? I know that there's a lot more involved in relationship building than just being friends. You ain't got to be. Yes, she has to know that. She has to know that. You know what I mean? Like let me tell you something. Michael has friends, and he didn't join this process to just have somebody who he could go to dinner with every now and then, or do an activity with, or do a game with. Like I need to there needs to be some type of emotional connection there, a physical connection for sure. And I think it's wild to me that a lot of y'all can watch them and think, oh yeah, they can make it because they're friends. Like that, like what?
People could watch it and not think that it says toxic as Mirla or as
right
toxic as whatever y'all say.
Or that a relationship can survive, a marriage can survive off of just being homies.
But a lot of y'all ain't married, so we also speak it to that. And I mean that, like, you know, like people will say, like, you know, y'all act like having a man is hard, and you know, no, it's not. Partnership is hard. Companionship requires work.
Teamwork,
you know
what
I mean? Teamwork requires work, you know, and I think that we might miss that aspect of it. So do I think that people are better because they're in certain places? No. But I do think that you don't have certain skills when you don't operate in partnership, in tandem, in teamwork with another human at the level that a marriage is. I think that you don't have the same skills. I just feel like, you know what I mean? And I mean that with all due respect. I really, really do. I can tell without even talking to a lot of y'all when you're single.
Yeah, oh, for sure. 1,000%.
I can tell. I'm certain you read tweets and just be like, oh, you ain't with nobody.
Oh, yeah, for sure. All the time.
Just based on how y'all respond. You know what I mean? Because it opens up, you literally unlock different skills when you're required, or when you're doing, not even required, when you're doing life for somebody else. And I think that Jasmina is fighting us tooth and nail on unlocking any fucking thing. She done took the key through that bitch and was like, I'm done with this shit. Y'all ain't got to worry about me unlocking the motherfucking thing. The fact that she said she has to unlearn feeling like she's super independent and like she's got to do everything herself. Which she said she wanted to piggyback off of what Michael said, but that wasn't the same thing that Michael said. Which is how I know you're not fucking listening to Michael, because that's not what Michael said. Well, Michael,
which also was just her not being a part of the process. That was a cop out. That's what that's called.
It was such a fucking cop out.
That's what it was. It was, I'm not going to participate in this because that's not what I'm here for.
If we removed his answer at all, you know what I mean? But that's another thing. We don't hold her feet to the fire because it's like, show up emotionally or don't, right? And then be honest about that.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Just be transparent, like about whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? Like give him something. My issue is you give him dust. And for the rest of y'all, it's
girlfriend. I'm
Huh?
already. I don't even know if they said yes to each other, whatever the case may be. I'm already actively like, we got to find
I
Michael.
don't care about. Let me tell y'all something right now, because we had to address this in the comments too. I don't care about them saying yes on decision day, because that could be saving face as well. You know what I'm
We
saying?
see
We've seen it happen, right? So my stance is very firm on them not making it a mile down the road past the reunion. Like I'm very firm on that, because decision day will be another flex to me. And somebody made a good point. It to me will highly depend on who says what first. I don't know what order it is, but I wish that I could reach out to somebody in production and find out.
I'm over it. I'm really over it. And I don't like that she said that she doesn't get the urge to even kiss him. She said to me, I think there's one way to be honest and still leave the door open. I
Yeah.
think to say, I don't get the urge to kiss you or says enough.
Oh yeah, for sure.
She said everything she needed to say. You don't like him. You're not into him.
Yeah. I mean, because even how she said at one point, it stood out to me where they were talking about, the affection that Michael has been showing her. And she said, yeah, you was holding my hand in my sleep. I felt that. And she said it just like that. Like, do you like what? You really just throw these like emotional connections, these moments, you just throw them out the window and dismiss them like that? Like, you gotta be really feeling somebody that like literally to just hold their hand while they sleep.
But can we pause and talk about how you had notes? It's kind of turning me on.
I
I'm so proud. I'm like watching you look down. I'm like, is he reading notes?
Yeah, because I need to make clear about, because some of this stuff I think y'all are getting finesse because y'all not paying attention. I need to make it clear that I pay attention nonstop, and now I need to bring it to y'all neck, because y'all out here sounding crazy in the comments.
It's really fascinating, and I think even to say that, I feel like kissing you is an obligation.
Oh yeah.
You just met this person, but that's how you know she shut it down. Then she was done. Then let's be clear, because if we're thinking about the setup, right? Because y'all be needing full context in order for y'all to understand how shit be working in like real life.
Right.
So if we saying like these are two strangers, at the very least, we know both of these people want to be in a committed relationship, because otherwise they wouldn't have signed up for married.
And now we don't even know that, because Jasmine was chosen. She was plucked for this. Jasmina was plucked for this. So this is another thing that is a red flag, and connects the dots for me.
Another one was plucked for this in a previous season as well. So and they are no longer together.
Not surprising.
Okay. So, but it really is.
It shows
fascinating
though
to me is that the expectation is not that you're going to have this unbelievable chemistry on day one, right? Nobody's expecting that. It would be nice, but but what we're trying to do is build something. So in the midst of building something, you're saying that feeling like being affectionate with your husband feels like an obligation. It is an obligation.
Yes. Your job.
It is an obligation. So yes, do you want to say, is there a way that she could have said it? For me, I think she could have said, like, listen, we're getting there. We're getting there. I want to take my time. I'm just trying to still unpack some things, but we're going to get there. That gives like, okay, I'm not shutting this down. I'm open. I just am not there right now. The same way, this is my segue to Mark and Lindsay. Mark said that to Lindsay, and it was the first time for me that I felt like I heard Mark speak.
Yeah.
I felt like, before he was just going along to get along, and she was doing her Karen thing like she do. Oh, I will not let you hurt me any longer.
That's it. Every time. And she pulls that out whenever she needs to. And turns on the faucet.
And I felt like it was so good to see. First of all, it was good to see Dr. Pepper push back. Well, I want somebody to try something new. She was like, he tries something new all the time.
All the time.
Like,
as basic as he is.
As basic as he is, he's constantly allowing you to try new things with him, whatever the case may be. Like, what do you want from this man? You know what I mean? But also, Mark said something that I thought, So I was watching, oh my God, what is it called? Is it called Bringing Down the House? Whatever the movie is with Queen Latifah and Steve Martin.
Mm-hmm.
Steve Martin, like him and his wife are like either separated or divorced or whatever the case may be. And it's the scene where Queen Latifah and him are interacting, and he's supposed to be like playing out like having sex with his ex-wife.
Mm-hmm.
He's supposed to be like, she's trying to get him to like be a man, like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I was Queen Latifah and Mark was Steve Martin. I felt like you found your balls. Like I feel like say what you need to fucking say. Man up. Yeah. You know what I mean? Say it with your fucking chest. You doing too much. Okay. Mm-hmm. And when I say you're doing too much, I mean you're doing too much. And I'm going to get there. But you need to give me the space and room to do that. Because I will be able to provide you with whatever you need. But you do not have to balloon in every space.
Yeah, and you don't. The key part for me was you don't give me a chance to do these things. Like the minute Lindsay wants to pop off or jump off the deep end, she will jump off the deep end, and it'll be a race to the bottom from there. Here come the low blows. Here come the waterworks. Here come this whole thing, and that makes Mark shrink because it's a trigger for Mark. Okay. And this is which is finally a thing where I said with the experts and the professionals that they need to get in and unpack, and it felt like they're finally starting to unpack some of that.
And that was good to see, Mark. And this, the only thing I didn't love is that I felt like Mark went through a lot this episode. He lost that kitty cat. He had that cat for 17 years. It's 14 years. That's a long time to raise anything. But and
it made me think about what you said the other week about Lindsay and trauma and how it like is almost something that she needs, like, because she thrives in. Because she made a comment that stood out to me where she said, Mark's been through hurdle after hurdle, but fortunately I'm used to that. And she smiled.
Joseph Connor, I'm gonna send you these notes when I'm done, because that was in my notes. That was the first smile that was the second smile that took me out. Y'all didn't feel like when they was at the vet, Lindsay was a
Yep. And I'm so glad you made that point a couple weeks ago about certain people needing to thriving in trauma because they need to be that person. I forget how you put it, but that person is Lindsay. It's very clear, especially after that comment that she made where I was like, wow, like this is weird.
Like, I need him to be down. Yeah. The reason why you speak to him like that and do all that, because you need him to be there. Because the moment he really start flexing, like, I'm Mark, you're not going to do this. You're not, you would never be able to hold up in a situation.
Oh, like yeah. It's very clear. You would be out the door.
You know what I mean? And then you will call it abuse.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Not only would you be out the door, you would castigate him and call it abuse.
Oh, for sure.
Because he's advocating for himself. You couldn't tell me she wasn't happy that poor kitty cat.
I mean, it's like the more he's down, the more she's up.
Ooh.
It's like,
well, wait a minute, that's the title, man.
It's crazy. It's really scary to me. Like, and I'm noticing it little. If y'all pay attention to these breadcrumbs, because they are dropping these breadcrumbs. The same thing I was saying about Yasmina. Like, these people are just pay attention.
Yes.
They are dropping the breadcrumbs. And that was another breadcrumb from Lindsay when she said that. I said, wow, that is very telling.
It's so telling, but it's because she doesn't experience emotional energy with anybody that she was raised by. Her father, it comes out, he was just a provider. So he wasn't really like a present parent. Mm-hmm. The mother had to be both. So she probably couldn't show up for her in an emotional space that she needed to. So she probably aligns closeness with trauma. If something bad happens to you, now you get all the attention kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Yes.
I can give you all the attention or whatever the case.
Yeah. It's the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
But the problem is that she don't even know that she loves squeaky wheels.
Yeah, she don't.
I don't even think if she would like it if Mark had his whole life together.
Yeah.
See, she could have never. They knew not to put him with, what was the guy that left because he was with Alyssa?
Oh, Chris.
They knew not to put him with Chris. Chris got too much shit. Chris doing all right.
Because Chris was ready for this.
Grounded. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
he would have been like, he would have got her the fuck out of here, hockey.
Yeah, yeah, he
And
would
you know
have.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and they know that, and that's why, you know what I mean, that may not have worked out. I genuinely think, though, I'm gonna be honest, I'm a bit optimistic, and I don't know why, but that's because I have a lot of married friends who are of the Caucasian persuasion.
What? Let me tell you, Lindsay and Mark saying yes on decision day would not at all surprise me. Not even a little bit, because I think that the one thing that Mark does have an uphill battle in life. You know what I mean? The one thing that showed me, especially going back to you talking about how, you know, they was talking about how he's trying stuff, like almost everything is new to him because of the level of basic that he came from. At one point, they were talking to each other, and Mark says, what is this stuff again? I don't even know what this is. And Lindsay says, salsa. And I was like, what?
But
so this is the level.
so
This
many
is the
people in
context of
America.
the level of like basic, like salsa is exotic for him, right?
Exactly.
So that means that everything he's doing almost is him trying. It's him trying new stuff. Like, you know what I mean? So I think that there's a part of that about Mark that makes Lindsay more attracted to Mark in his whole situation. You know what I'm saying? Because a part of it is like she complains about it, and the other part is like it really makes her feel, like we said, it makes her feel great. You know what I mean? So I think that there's something there where I wouldn't be surprised if she said yes. And with Mark, I think Mark is committed to this process, and so that wouldn't surprise me if he was coming from the place of like, I want to see this through and see where it goes. That wouldn't surprise me either.
I think, and this is being honest, I think with the oldest kitty cat out the way, okay, that was her biggest, you know, that cat, him and the cat was inseparable. So now he has a void that needs to be filled. That's number one. And I think that if he continues to show up in the way that he did when he had the conversation with Dr. Pepper, very matter of factly, very clear, not giving her the room to create the scenario.
Mm-hmm.
I can see it. If I'm being honest, I can see it. But yeah, very fascinating. How do you feel about living in your childhood home?
I think that it's ridiculous. Like I think that I think I'm sorry. I think it's ridiculous. Now, some context here. My parents lived in my mom's childhood home, but the difference is that it was kind of handed down. Like my mom ended up
My mom too.
taking it over and then purchasing the house, right?
Yeah.
So that's different from like moving out, living life, and then going to find a house so that you can purchase it and then live in it. Like that's weird to me. Here, I'm with Lindsay on that, where she was like, let's not chase, you know, your past happiness. Let's go create our own memories and things like that.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. I thought it was really fascinating that he wanted to do that, as if they couldn't have better. Like it wasn't like a mansion.
No.
It also wasn't like a great looking house. You know what I mean?
Like, I think for him, it was just an emotional thing of like, this is the happiest that I've ever been, which is even more reason for you to go and start new somewhere else, because you can't be chasing your childhood happiness, bro. You are a grown man with a whole wife.
Didn't the Bible that y'all be reading say that?
You got to go. Yeah, when you became a man, you need to put away the childish things.
Come on. Let's move on. I don't know why Katina and Elijah are last. I don't know how they ended up being last. I didn't really put them in that order in my mind, but it's some things that we should unpack here. Okay. So Katina and Elijah had a really good, we got to see the different dynamics between the both of them and why. I've been trying to figure out. Let me say this. Let's start with this. Let's start with what's positive. What's positive is Katina was speaking about, you know, her experiences with Elijah and how it makes her feel fearless. And like, you know, like like she said, like, I feel like a superwoman, like I could do anything. And
but y'all didn't hear, I know y'all didn't hear that because according to y'all, you know, she is a battered woman, and she hates her life and her husband, and that's why she doesn't speak.
Did you read some of the Like, were you keeping up with the? I know you watched it a little bit later, so I don't know if you went back and saw any tweets or anything about it or whatever the case may be. Joe does the tweet and I don't, so I'm always curious as to what people are thinking real time about the show and when they see these things unpacked, because there was a lot of things happening between Katina and Elijah one that I felt like was an undercurrent this episode. So first thing I wanted to call out was that, because I thought that was super freaking positive. Like, you know what I mean? And I also love that they went down to where Elijah lives and you know, the projects and living in the projects and saying that how he lived in like really like the back porch, like it was his room kind of thing. And because I'm trying to get a better understanding, I'm saying all this, I'm setting this up because I'm trying to get a better understanding of why it's so important to him that Katina is in a certain place.
Which goes back to digging into the roots and everything going back somewhere, and it being the job of when they are in sessions to uncover those things, because all of this goes
They
back to
didn't do that
somewhere.
either.
They didn't do that either.
They didn't do that either. And that bothered me because there's something deeper going on here. Number one.
Of course.
You know what I mean? And I'm trying to see like the full context of the situation, because I don't want to yet say like, part of me, I'm gonna be honest, part of me is like, what is this bullshit he bringing to the table in the umpteenth hour? Right? But the other part of me understands that fear, because I live with that, you know what I mean? And I have moments where I'm like, what the fuck is going on? You know what I mean? Like, so I get how he could feel that way, but I thought it was nice that he took her there. And it was very clear is that I also want to call out a power dynamic. And I don't think Katina recognizes this either. Because Katina grew up in a household that was more secure, more she, you know, having a room to grow, had a good church environment, all of these things. Elijah might not recognize this, but I think it's almost a resentment of that.
Of Katina's upbringing?
I don't think that I think it's an undercurrent. I think that people, because the way that he feels so proudly and prideful about what he's accomplished in comparison to her, it's the in comparison to her that I don't
think so. The in comparison to her thing, I see it the opposite way, where I see that he is because he was like almost to the point of tears and talking about her background in comparison to his background, and where they are today and where she is as far as how she treats him and understanding his background in juxtaposition to the background that she came from. He seems very appreciative of that. I think the comparison for today is in that he's done is a single mindset of that he's done X, Y, and Z. He's had to come from such a far way because of where he was born and how his upbringing was, right? From going to school to his to paying off his school loans to buying his house to even physical. Like he used to be fat, which I didn't realize. But he was like I saw an old picture of him from somewhere, and he was like a fat kid, right? So now he all joked up and stuff, like he all yoked up and stuff now. So he's literally had to come such a far way in so many aspects of his life that I understand. It's almost like a trigger for him to be matched with somebody who has not achieved some of those things or is not in the same place, right? And so it seems like these are deeper things, like you said, where it's much deeper. These are deeper things that really needs to be uncovered and delved into as to why he feels the way he feels about certain things with her and how it affects how he operates in his relationship. Because what also came to light in this episode was that he was also in a relationship with somebody else who he was very into and had a similar issue with, where like she was trying to go to school and do life and whatever. He was into her and it didn't work. So it seems like he got his heart broken because of a similar situation. But these are things that need to be uncovered when they sit down with the experts. This is why this is why he was upset at his sit down talk a couple of episodes ago, when it felt like everybody else was uncovering things and they didn't spend time doing that. But this is something that as a couple, I think the experts should be involved in uncovering these things, because people just see one layer. They just see, you know, oh, so-and-so is acting X this way. And so why are they acting this way? They should do this, they should do that. Everybody's looking from a bird's eye view in their higher self. But when you dive into it and you uncover all these layers, these things make sense. They just need help facilitating and trying to figure out how to navigate this stuff. Because it is deep.
What I'm saying about I think, and I hate to say this, but I think two things can be true, right? So I think all of that can be true.
You know that.
I think all that can be true, and you can still have a sense of I had to come so much further than you, and I got more than you. You can still have a sense of that.
Oh, for sure.
Like, two things can be true. I get how you could feel like how you had all these years and you ain't where I'm at. I get that fucking feeling. Like, you know what I mean?
I think it's more, I think hearing the comment, and it's crazy how stuff will leak out and people just having conversations about, you know, something not even like in a session. I think the biggest thing that I took from their whole scene was him leaking the little information about I was with somebody and this and she went through the same thing. She was trying to
next episode though.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like she was trying to go to school. She was trying to do this and it didn't work out. That to me sounds like this is a trigger for you.
And I'm not
like you got your heart broken. And how many people let their life, how many people we know just in the world today who lead the life they lead based off of past trauma. I ain't doing this. No. We just gotta finish talking about it with Noy. I'm not doing this anymore because my ex did this, and now I gotta hold on to the studio apartment and this, that, you know what I mean?
That's my point, Joe. All of that stems from those bad feelings that you have felt previously, and you're assigning that to the new person that you are with.
For sure.
So yes, those things look like resentment and this and that. It looks like that. And I think that, and I know he's not coming off to her negatively. I really don't think that he is. I'm gonna be honest about that. I think he's just saying his truth, and he might not have the tools or the words to get really down in the nitty-gritty of it all. But I do think it's something to, or maybe he didn't at that time, but I do think it's something to feeling like I don't want to do it by myself, but I also want you to have a space to explore yourself.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And wanting the relationship, because I think
you think he wants the relationship?
Oh, for sure. I for sure, because that's why they didn't get to dive into it, because I think it caught them off guard in production, where he was doing his solo shot and they were asking him about decision day and he started crying, and they was kind of like, what's going on? Like, why are you crying? Because he felt like, and that's when he made the comment of like, when you care for somebody, like you want the best for them. But he was crying. I think part of him being emotional about it is, we all know that he's an emotional, passionate person. But I think part of that was wanting to be with Katina, but also being scared that it's not going to work out, because thinking I just went through this, and so I'm about to be hurt again. And this is a person who I want to be with, because I know I like her and she likes me to that point.
Okay, I could take that. Well, I want to say this. I'm really glad that Katina, we got to hear a little bit more from her, even and I don't want to say it's a negative thing, but I think she pointed out the things that she was fearful of. And I thought that it was good for her to call out, like, you know, sometimes, you know, being in a space where you feel drained by how other people present and how, you know, they need to, you know, show up and show out. That could be draining. And I was glad that she spoke about that, because I think so often we watch her and we don't know exactly how she's feeling.
Right.
So it's like good to know that, yeah, she like, yeah, I get it. Like, you know what I mean? I know y'all could be watching this and feeling a certain way, but I have my feelings too. And, you know, I'm glad that he recognizes that I don't want to, she going back to school. I don't want to put all that on her.
That's
on
real.
Top of whatever real life shit we got going on.
Yeah, because I think that the thing that annoys me is people look at them and can't. It's almost like if you take Olajuwon and his name and his likeness and replace it with somebody named Amy, I think it wouldn't be so hard to understand the things that he was saying about, even if it's just not Katina and Elijah, just take another couple. Like it's a very legitimate fear for somebody to think I'm at this, and not only that, but they say we make plans and God laughs, right? So a lot of times there's a fear of like these plans that we had not coming to fruition the way that we thought they were going to happen, right? Because he's saying, can Katina finish school and go through nursing school and have kids and be a wife at the same time, right?
It's hard.
That is hard, period. Hard. No matter who you are, right? And so these are real thoughts and legitimate thoughts and fears that you could have in this situation. So I think that people just don't like Olajuwon, because if somebody named Amy Jones said the same thing, nobody would be like, I can't with him. What is this? Like, nobody would say that. Energy.
I cannot agree with you more that I believe that people just don't like Olajuwon. I don't really understand why they don't. He doesn't always have desirable moments, but he has so many redeeming qualities that I wonder why. Like, he did have an undesirable moment. He told Katina to shut up. But that was also something he didn't have to share.
Right, because he's very transparent and open with that. With his flaws and all. Yeah. I think this also brings up what I said the other week about, people trying to throw him in the camp of the demonized cast members of Married at First Sight, right? And no one in the demonized camp. We talking about the Chris's from the Chris and Paige situation from the seasons past, and a couple other people that I can't remember. Never in the history of the show has somebody legitimately been in that demonized camp. And again, every day, everybody in the after party is gloating over Olajuwon.
So what I think you're getting at is that they provide grace, even though they might see something a little undesirable go down or whatever the case.
They provide perspective of people who are there. We're not there.
But the reason why I'm pushing back on that, is because people could say a lot of things about your spouse, and you go home and have to deal with that terrorist. Okay. And that's the only reason why I want to push back, is because yes, all these people can have glowing things to say or whatever the case.
No. It's what I'm comparing this to.
Maybe I missed it. Go ahead.
Yeah, because what I'm comparing this to is not whether or not somebody knows the inner workings of your personal relationship.
Yeah,
that's not what I'm comparing this to. What I'm saying is, for you guys to put him in the same category as the people who are in the long list of demonized people who've been on this show. Never in the history of the show has the cast not agreed with, the entire cast doesn't agree with any of you. That's what I'm saying. No one sat up there and caped for Chris on Married at First Sight last season.
That is very
no true. One did, right? Yes. You can bring up the list of people where they were universally kind of demonized in the media, in the Twitterverse, and YouTube. No one from the cast sat up there and said, no, that's not it. That's what I'm comparing this to. Okay. The difference between paying attention to people who actually are there. These people are there. That's the difference.
I just want, it's very clear to me that Olajuwon has an idea of what he thinks his wife should be, how she should act, what she should be doing, what job she's supposed to have, what her career is supposed to be looking like. I think we all do it. You know what I mean? Like, we all do it. So it's not like he's doing something that we all haven't done at one point in time. I just want
especially being in a certain place in life. Like I said, we hear women do that all the time. I did this, I achieved this, so he needs to do this, that, and the third. We see it all the time. And nobody bats an eye.
That's exactly what I was getting at, babe. Like, if I keep having to put myself in a perspective, if he was a woman, would I feel this kind of way?
Nobody would care. This wouldn't even be a topic of discussion.
But I also want to say, I do believe, and I know that I'm the kind, I always give perspective to my girlfriends. Like, I always ask them, like, what do you want? Like, what's the end goal? You want to be in a relationship? You want to be married? You want to be, tell me, and I'll give you that kind of advice, right? And if I'm speaking to even a woman, and I've done this before, you know this to be true. That's a part of the process. Like, you know what I mean? We won't come in here one way. Me and you is far more up than we was And that's teamwork. That's because we've been working together. And the more we work better together, the more we get to reap the benefits of doing such. Right. You know what I mean? Like we get to do things. Like even when the girls came, they were like, damn, y'all furnished this house in no time. I'm like, we get to reap the benefits of that because we work together. Right. Does that make sense? And I think that, you know, but that's something that you just got to do. Yeah. You can't just preemptively be thinking about the future. It's nice to be present where you are today. Oh, for sure. Just say marriage is one day at a time. I tell people, me and my girlfriend say all the time, 1 day, 1 hour, 1 minute, child. I'm getting it minute by minute. That's all it is. You don't got to make all these decisions for the future today.
No, you sure don't. And you will actually drive yourself insane perseverating on it. The best advice I got that we heard from an old married couple was the key to a long-lasting marriage is just don't leave.
Just don't leave. You'll have a lot of feelings.
That's it.
Make a decision that, look, I ain't
you leaving. Ain't leaving.
Then you'll move a certain way. You will absolutely positively move. Sure. And I just want him to get to the space where he's resolved in the fact it makes.
Hey, you'll figure it out. You'll figure it out. Because
you're so successful in all this other shit. You don't think you'll figure this out?
Because that's it. And that's all. It's the approach. The just don't leave approach will lead you to going, we'll figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Like there's everybody has thoughts and fears about their relationship and all of that stuff, right? And there's a big part of just the almost the biggest part of these thoughts and these fears is we'll figure it out.
We just need to do so. Allow her to blossom. We got to be for real. She's only been a wife for a certain period of time. We don't know how this chick going Minority Report switch some shit up on us.
No, you don't.
We don't know what the fuck she's going to do, but I am so certain that she is going to make leaps and strides because you do what you got to do for your spouse.
I think a big part of it is to give grace to, which I try to remind myself for, is that they don't a big part of this is trust. A big part of we'll figure it out is trust, right? Like I'm sure Zar, as especially coming into a relationship with a freelance worker, an entrepreneur, is like, you know, these are fears, right? But she had to say we'll figure it out. A part of that is it has to be trust, right? We've had conversations about Zar taking on new avenues in her career, and my advice was do it, we'll figure it out, right? And so I think that a big part of that is trust, and I think that I'm gonna need to give grace in that. We have a trust that you can't possibly have with somebody who just met 8 weeks ago. So but that is a muscle that you have to be actively trying to work at the same time.
And that's why I'm saying, in the words of Mark, let me do it. Like let her.
How about that?
You can't make decisions about shit you've never seen.
Right.
Yes, for the last person, that was the situation. But this might blow your mind. Mm-hmm. She might do some shit and you'll be like, this girl is really superwoman.
Yeah.
Like, right. You know what I mean? And not in a way that she got to struggle, but she's thriving and successful and doing all the things that she needs to do to keep us safe. But that's grown. The faith, the trust in the person to do that is grown. I'm excited to see what Katina does. And I think that Elijah should be too. Period. Yeah. And if you break Katina's heart, I'm slashing motherfucking tires. I'm literally slashing tires. So Katina, girl, hit my line if you need somebody to roll up on his ass, because he ain't gonna take us on this emotional roller coaster and then drop us off like that. He ain't gonna do it. He ain't gonna do it. We slashing tires, ho. So that's all I had to say. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you have not already, it is so important for you to do us a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that bell so you know when we put out our content. And we'll see you beautiful mother jumpers later. Bye. Peace.